Here we go, Deacon Wayne, part 3.
So we were discussing how listening became a key element in my working career, to listen to the hourly people as well as my own thoughts and designs and engineering, and how well that worked out when you collaborated with people. So that was key in my life. Then about 2002, I started studying for the diaconate, and that finished up in 2009. I was ordained in 2009, and I worked a few more years after that. But in 2012, due to some leadership changes at the church, I decided to retire and move on to my working career inside, if I can call it that, as a vocation inside of the church, working in ministry as a deacon. So there is a whole different level to where we're going here today. Is it was in the working world, it was when you're done at the end of the day, you could walk away, pick back up tomorrow. Where today, in the diaconate and ministry world, that human connection keeps you involved, so 100% of the time.
Like taking it home with you?
Yeah, and take it in your heart. Not so much. I try not to involve other people at home, but sometimes it's nice to have a discussion with my wife where I can say, "Hey, this is going on. What do you think about that?" But more often than not, it's just knowing that you can't just take it out of your heart and set it aside. It's there with you.
Yeah.
You got somebody that's really broken that you're dealing with, and you don't just pick that out and say, "I'll set it on my desk till tomorrow morning." You're always mulling it over in prayer. It's in your heart. It's part of your life now. So
You were talking about your grandkids. They're a good outlet.
So yeah, you got to care for yourself, right? You can't minister to others if you don't take care of yourself. So one of the outlets, one of the ways of lifting yourself up, because you are surrounded quite often with darkness, brokenness all the time. Even though you try to be the hopeful person, it weighs you down. And so your family, having a nice solid ground that you can stand on when you go to your home where it's peaceful, that's a little bit of a grounding for you. It keeps you solid. My grandkids, they're like, unknowingly, they're like ministers to me, because they'll just, come on, you got to go outside and play, and so stuff you wouldn't think of if they weren't around. So they're a great asset in my life, great way to lift me up. It takes my mind away from things, even though they're buried deep in my heart. So that's a great way. Prayer obviously is huge. You got to be able to talk to God. You got to be able to say, "I need your help here. I'm lost. I don't know what to do next." So these are things that I learned from other spiritual people. I learned from talking to God, and you just need that grounding. You need that solid grounding.
So like when you're ministering to being a deacon life, your full-time job and then some, all the things you learned, through your years of the different genres of people that you see. So you've seen a lot. Has there been anything like that came up that you haven't seen in your life, from someone you minister to? And when those things come up, what do you do? Obviously you go to God.
Yeah, God's always got the answer for us. We just have to be patient sometime and wait for Him to answer. Yeah, there are things. I had a lady come and she swore that she was possessed by the demon, and so she wanted special blessings on her. I did that, and I never dealt with that before. Probably did without it being direct, right in my face, but. Yeah, so then little things like that pop up, The hardest ones, probably even beyond something that I would say that's out there like that, is just when you see a personal relationship break up, a marriage of somebody you love, the husband and you love the wife because they're part of your congregation, and all of a sudden it's falling apart, and you don't pick a side and you hold that tension, and it's hard, but you just love them. And learn that from being a dad and a husband more than anything. You just love your way through it, and when you do that, you can't go wrong.
Because I've never been a father or a husband, but forcing your will can be a problem too. So just like you said, the loving instead, trying to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a young dad, it was like, my kids are going to be perfect. I'm going to get them to school. I'm going to go to college. I got this, that. Now my kids call me and say, Dad, how'd you ever make it through that? And I say, here's the key. Just love them. And that's all there is to it, you know. Yeah. So it sounds simple. It is hard. It's one of those simple things that are immense.
I had a grandpa, and he was my mom's father, and he was like the coolest guy. He was a firefighter for Southfield, and he drove the trucks. He was in charge of a sergeant, and he was the most laid back guy ever, you know. And my grandma tell me stories. A few kids, you know, and they had 5, and one, you know, would be caught in those years, and that person would be out late at night, in the middle of the night, and my grandma would be freaking out, and he'd roll over and say, what do you want me to do? You want me to drive Detroit? You want me to drive Flint? What do you want me to do? Go back to bed, you know, and he just took things lightly. He took care of business, but he take it lightly, so yeah, it's beautiful.
You can over worry yourself, and that's the key to this, you know, your whole life too, is that don't let worry drive you, don't let fear drive you, don't let, it's hard to not take brokenness and hurt from others and hold them on you. That's probably the hardest one of all of them, you know, because fear, I can say, you know what, I'm not going to let it drive me, but when you run into something that's broken, I think what it is, it reflects on our own brokenness. And so when you talk to somebody and they're hurting bad, you go, wow, what's happening to me deep down inside, and I never dug that out before. So
that is so weird how that is.
Yeah.
It's because we're all one, but yes,